Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam, and it's that time of year again. Time for us to look back on all of our favorite and least favorite movies of 2019. This video will be my top 10 favorite movies of 2019. My least favorite will be coming tomorrow, but for now, let's talk about the good stuff. But first, a couple of ground rules. Number one, I did not see all of the movies that I wanted to see this year. There will be some movies that are not on this list. Those movies are 1917, Parasite, and Jojo Rabbit. I did not see any of these, not for a lack of interest, but just because I wasn't able to see them. They didn't come anywhere close to my area, so I was not able to see them. If I understand this correctly, 1917 will be getting a January release, so I hopefully will be seeing it then. But for now, those movies will not be on this list. Number two, this is my subjective list. I know making this list that I will not see any more movies in 2019, so it really is superfluous for me to hold off doing this list any longer. And this is my subjective list, so this will not be like RogerEbert.com's top 10 of the year list or AFI's top 10 of the year list. This is strictly my list. These are the movies that resonated with me the most. With that out of the way, let's get into the list. But first, let's get some honorable mentions out of the way. These are movies that I really enjoyed, but just barely missed the list. And those movies are Ford v Ferrari, Uncut Gems, Alita Battle Angel, How to Train Your Dragon 3, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Richard Jewell. I loved these movies to death, just not enough to make my main list. So without any further ado, with all the grandstanding and the hot dogging out of the way, let's light this candle. Number 10. Starting off my list at number 10 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino did it again. When it comes to overall tone, this was far more unique than any other movie that I saw this year. There was no question this was very much a Tarantino film, and arguably this was Tarantino at his most Tarantino, for better and for worse. Not only did the movie have great production design, but two of my favorite performances all year from Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, who was a particular standout. What keeps the movie at number 10 is that the movie does get a tad self-indulgent, and I would have liked to have been more of a concrete story, but regardless of those things, I still loved this movie to pieces, and I hope Tarantino makes movies till he's like 100. Number 9. Then at number 9 is my favorite animated film of the year, Toy Story 4. Does Toy Story 4 need to exist? On paper? Probably not, but I'm glad that it does exist. The way I look at the Toy Story series is like this. Toy Story 1 had the best jokes. Toy Story 2 had the best overall story. Toy Story 3 had the best animation. And Toy Story 4 had the best of all three. I consistently laughed throughout this movie. There was a great story told that was equally satisfying and touching, and there was beautiful animation. I will stand by the fact that this is the best looking Toy Story movie that there has ever been. I also thought that this was the best ending that they could have given to Woody's character. And I've seen some flack online about how they kind of shafted Woody. Well, if Woody would have stayed with Bonnie, then the whole Toy Story cycle would have just gone around again, and they would have probably told the exact same story. I thought Toy Story 4 was an excellent conclusion to one of the longest running animated movie series going today. Number 8. Remember how in number 10 I said I wanted Quentin Tarantino to live to 100? Well, I want Keanu Reeves to live till he's 200. John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. John Wick Chapter 3 is quite simply the best pure action movie of the year. This movie was just jaw-dropping. With the exception of about a 20-minute stretch near the middle, this movie hits the gas and does not let up. I swear to you, as I'm sitting here today, the Knife Museum sequence made me laugh, cringe, and gag all simultaneously. And I really can't say that about any other movie I saw this year. While I still contend that John Wick Chapter 1 is the best movie of the whole series, John Wick Chapter 3 is a more than worthy sequel and a more than worthy continuation of what John Wick Chapter 1 started. Number 7. Number 7 and number 6 on my list might as well be entries into the satisfying conclusions to Stuff I Loved file, starting with El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. El Camino was about the best conclusion to the main Breaking Bad story that we were ever probably going to get, with one of the best performances all year and one of the most underrated performances as well from Aaron Paul, who is a total legend. Combine that with epic cinematography on par with the TV series, and equally great performances from the likes of the late Robert Forster, may he rest in peace, and this movie just ticked off all the boxes as a Breaking Bad superfan as myself. I've seen online that a lot of people were like, oh, it just feels like a bunch of old episodes just edited together for feature length. And I ask you, what's the problem with that? El Camino gave Jesse Pinkman the happy ending that he so richly deserved, and wow, did he ever deserve it. Number 6. Yeah, this movie's probably going to be on a lot of top 10 lists, and yeah, it's on mine, Avengers Endgame. Endgame has been getting kinda crapped on recently, now that it has become the biggest movie of all time. But that doesn't change the fact that this was still kick-ass. When Iron Man was released in 2008, I had no idea that Avengers Endgame was even possible. But by God, the Russo brothers did it. They basically found a way to get the moon, the planets, the sun, and all the stars in perfect alignment to make Avengers Endgame one of the most satisfying conclusions that could have ever been thought of. I will be the first to say that Avengers Endgame is not perfect, but when you consider it, especially with the grand scheme of the MCU, this was about as close to a perfect ending as this current Infinity Saga arc was going to get, and I am looking forward to what happens in the MCU next. Number 5. Number 5 and number 4 on my list are basically entries into the original movies that should have gotten more love file. Number 5 on my list is Blinded by the Light. Blinded by the Light infused Bruce Springsteen's music into a story that just had all the heart. And the movie is not just a Bruce Springsteen highlight show. There is a genuinely great story involved here about how one kid is trying to figure out what he wants to do in life and how he feels lost, and how his dreams clash with his father's and his family's in general more conservative values. But I love how the movie just didn't have a villain. The movie doesn't portray the father or the mother or the sisters as like bad guys or like, you are bad for liking this music. The father especially, that could have easily been turned into a cartoon, but it didn't. Blinded by the Light portrayed this man as someone who is set in his ways, but in the best way possible, because his ways got him to a much better life. And the son's relationship with his father was one of the more relatable ones that I saw in any movie all year. Blinded by the Light got nowhere near enough love at the box office, and it absolutely should have. Number 4. Number 4 on my list was a movie that completely blindsided me in the best way possible, and that is Ready or Not. Ready or Not was so much fun and also incredibly scary at the same time. This movie was like if you took Clue and crossed it over with Evil Dead, and that was just a great combination. You take a great and amazing star-making performance from Samara Weaving, combine it with a very dysfunctional family, and you have, quite frankly, what Knives Out should have been, just without any of the demonic stuff. Ready or Not was a special blend of fun and scary, and I just had a blast with it. Also, honorable mention to Ready or Not for having one of my favorite closing lines in any movie of this year. It's where Samara Weaving, after going through literal hell, sits on the stoop of this big house, lights up a cigarette, and the police asks her, "What happened here?" And she was like, "In-laws." My heart goes out to you, Samara Weaving. You are a badass. Number 3. My number 3 on my list is Dr. Sleep. Mike Flanagan had a near impossible task to try and create a sequel to one of the best horror movies of all time, The Shining. And he came about as close as anyone's probably ever going to get. Is Dr. Sleep better than The Shining? No. But again, that doesn't mean that it's a bad movie. It is an outstanding movie. Not only do you have excellent performances from Ewan McGregor and Rebecca Ferguson, and also the little girl who I am completely blanking on right now, but we'll put in the lower third after the fact. But it acts as a perfect sequel to The Shining. I will more than happily put this Blu-ray next to the Shining Blu-ray that I own as number 1 and number 2. I now see Mike Flanagan as the best horror movie director working today, and I hope that he gets so many more movies after this, because I would watch 100 movies directed by Mike Flanagan, and I probably would never get bored. Number 2. Then at number 2, we have easily the best horror movie of the year, The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse will be confusing to some, but for me, I absolutely loved it. Not only did The Lighthouse have easily the best performance of Robert Pattinson's career, but a very underrated performance from Willem Dafoe as well. Not to mention the fact that this movie looks far more unique and different than any other movie I saw this year, thanks to the black and white and 1:19:1 ratio. This could have easily been turned into a cheap gimmick, but director Robert Eggers made it work, and he made the movie just super claustrophobic. And I also love how the movie just ends with one of those classic open endings where you don't know, is the lighthouse haunted or is it all in their heads? Is it just cabin fever? What's going on? I love how the movie didn't give me any clear-cut answers and I had to figure it out for myself. I liked that. I like the spirit of that. Not to mention the fact that A24 made fart jokes funny again. They can do no wrong in my eyes. Number 1. Alright guys, here it is. My number 1 favorite movie of 2019. There were several candidates that could have easily been my number 1. But I went with my gut and I finally settled on Joker. Joker has my favorite performance of the entire year from Joaquin Phoenix, who pretty much can do no wrong at this point. And it also had a very haunting score and outstanding cinematography. But I love how Joker just threw up a mirror to our society and was like, you see, this is what is going to happen. Because despite what the mainstream media has been saying about how this movie will weaponize incels and Trump supporters and turn them against the government, and they're going to take over the government and revert us all back to the Stone Age. Spoiler alert, that didn't happen. Joker is by far and away more thought-provoking and interesting than a lot of movies that I saw this year. And a lot of the claims about how the movie has no substance and it's just shocking for the sake of shocking, I say that's bullshit. I will cave a little and say that, yeah, it does lean a little into the Martin Scorsese-isms a tad bit, but, you know, we all gotta be influenced by something, so... And there are worse people to be influenced by, I guess. Now, I'm not going to lie. I had a very difficult time choosing between Lighthouse and Joker as my number 1 of the year. They're both excellent movies, and they both could have easily taken my number 1 spot. But the more I thought about it, the more my head and my heart just both went to Joker. And the reason is because the movie just related more to me than The Lighthouse. And Joker obviously resonated with a lot of people because it is now the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. And it didn't even go to China, which, that's just crazy. But I think the reason why Joker is my number 1 boils down to this quote from legendary author Mark Twain. "My books are like water. Those of the great geniuses are wine. Fortunately, everybody drinks water. The Lighthouse is the wine. It has a lot of subtleties that linger on the tongue and tantalize the senses. Joker is the water. It's rougher, more violent, and a lot less refined. But everybody drinks water, and Joker is something that could happen to anyone, and it's something that everyone can easily understand. Because, again, to those who say, oh, Joker has absolutely no substance, let me read you this ancient African proverb. The child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. If that doesn't break down what Joker is in a nutshell, then I don't know what is. Arthur Fleck did everything right. He took care of his mom, he went to work every day, he ate his vitamins, he said his prayers, ditto, etc., etc. And the world beat him down at every turn. And then one day he was like, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. He pretty much pulled a Ned Beatty from Network. It's that, and for a lot of other reasons, why Joker is my favorite movie of 2019. But that is all for me, guys. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. What did you guys think? What are your favorite movies of 2019? Leave them in the comments section below, and I'd love to take a look at them. But tomorrow, I will be releasing my top 10 worst movies of the year list, and, well, I guess it's going to be fun on a perverse kind of level. But regardless of that, that's all for me. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.